Good morning and welcome to Sunday Service with me, Graham Hughes. It's highly possible I'm not Graham Hughes, but Graham has been at mine in Brighton this weekend and I really struggled to get him up this morning. He demanded breakfast in bed. And Graham, morning.
Hello?
I've stolen your channel.
Oi, sling your fucking hook. Get out of it.
All right, boss.
Stealing my channel, I don't bloody know. Let me sit down at the... hello. How's it going, everyone? We've got Colin Lunt. I feel like I'm on a radio station, like a proper professional setup. I've got Sarah Davis in the chat saying hi, Mike. We've got Gallifrey and Wren there as well. We've got Shropshire Chris. We've got Kate Smith. We've got Richard Grumpy Git. If you'd like to join our beautiful friends in the beautiful chat, all you need to do is hit that beautiful subscribe button. Wait for a minute and you are going to be subscribed. Mike, come and join me. Come and join me, sir. Come on. This doesn't stretch far enough. Can I tilt this towards you?
You might be able to.
Like that?
That would do.
Did that work?
Put it on the wonk.
On the wonk. Today we're going to be talking about the railways. No.
Well, you had some experience with that yesterday.
What? Friday, yes. I was on the train with the Sunderland fans coming down. And I often talk about this. It's one of the maddest things about privatisation. So I'm on a cross-country train. It gets to the station 7 minutes late. And so the train that we all, like literally 200 people on the train were connecting with another train that was Hull Trains.
Right.
And because it's a different company, they just pissed off. They didn't wait for a minute for everyone to get off one train onto the other. Like, it was literally going from platform 1 to platform 2. Like, you didn't have to walk across it. Anyway, and then so we have to go talk to LNER and say, can we get onto your train? And they've got a radio through to head office to say, can these 200 people get on this
And there's a
train?
commercial transaction going on.
Yeah, and basically Hull Trains are having to pay compensation to LNER for taking the passengers that they're supposed to take. And, oh my God, what a mad system. What a mad system.
And not only that, getting from Durham to Brighton.
Just earthquake.
Just everything moves. How much does that cost you to go?
It was £107.
You know, I can fly backwards and forwards to Madrid for half of that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's the most expensive system in the world, mile for mile. It is and it's the worst. It's absolutely worst.
But we're renationalising it today.
We are renationalising it. And as someone who's been to nearly, why does it say there? Nearly, you see this? Nearly every country.
I didn't write it.
That's why you don't get ChatGPT to write your notes. Look at that.
Took over your channel. He's
Cheeky
not been to
bastard.
every country, really.
That's someone who's been on trains. Oh, on trains in nearly every, because some countries don't have trains.
Okay.
Fair enough. Okay, I'll let you off, ChatGPT. So I've been to every country, but I've only been on trains in nearly every country. British trains, outrageously bad value and just outrageous. They're just so bad. And so the first Labour-led renationalisation started with South Western Railways today. And, I believe that railways should serve the public. It's public transport.
But it's like the story is that the first renationalised train left the station as a bus replacement service.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah. I mean, it bodes well.
But I believe that when the trains went privatised back in 1992, or
same problem.
They had the first train was a bus replacement system.
It's probably that's just the media. They wrote that story 4 days ago.
Do you want to budge up a little bit? Can you budge up? I don't know. We're just going to shake the table, shake pineapple, shake the tree. But I'm just a bit aware that oh God, I'm getting cut off here. Look at this. I am a little bit aware that this microphone is picking me up like really well, but you're really quiet on it. Maybe we should have swapped places because I've got like a booming Scouse voice. You're quite softly spoken.
I'll shout across your chest every time I want to talk.
Cool. Francis says, well, hello, beautiful people. Hello. So I'm actually using Mike's computer here on my... And it's one of those things like you think, oh, it's just be easy. I'll just log in. But then you forget. I'm not logged in to Google. I'm not logged into YouTube. I'm not logged into ChatGPT. I'm not logged like all these different little things.
Yeah. It's that thing we were saying this morning. Like technology is almost brilliant.
It's almost
But
brilliant.
it's basically a bit shit.
It is indeed. So, okay, let's talk about the history of the railways. So the first intercity railway was Liverpool to Manchester. It was in 1830. Stephenson's Rocket kicked it off. You can visit the Rocket pub, which should be a big celebration of the railways, but actually it's pretty much under the flyover at the end of a motorway.
Cool.
Now, because
It's in the north. That's what you do.
Motorways. But yes, and then there was this explosive, there's explosive private growth. And what's quite interesting, at the start, it was like all about goods. It was all about getting coal and steel and slag and ore from one end of the country to the other. And the passenger cars were kind of tagged onto the back of them.
Yeah, as a bonus.
As a bonus. It was like, well, we're going there anyway. So it was a bit like going on that famous railway in Mauritania, where the iron ore railway, it's a 2 kilometre long train.
Right.
Have you heard about this?
No.
I've seen it. It's 2 kilometres long.
Have you actually been there, Graham?
Yes, I've been there.
Because I do have a prop on the desk just in case
Honestly,
you get a moment like this.
Honestly, it goes like once a week or something, and we just happened to be crossing the level crossing on our way to Nouakchott, the capital.
2 mile train.
Just as the train was coming. But obviously, because it's 2 miles, the road's closed for like half an hour for the whole thing. It goes really slow, it goes past. But you, as a passenger, you used to be able to just climb up onto one of the boxes and just sit on top of the iron.
Oh, really?
Sit on top. Yeah. You can't do it anymore, though, because health and safety, innit? So in 1923, the government merged the Big Four. That was God's Wonderful Railway, the DWR, LMS, LNER, which still exists today, London and the North Eastern, and SR, Southern Rail, which they were still private, but they were heavily regulated by the government. And then after World War II, national coordination was like essential to the war effort during the war. Sure. And so in 1947, the railways were absorbed into British Rail. Well, it was British Railways to start, and then they sort of shortened it, made it more sexy. And it was state-owned, centrally planned, same model as for the NHS, for coal, electricity. And the goal was to provide a unified, efficient service for the public good. And they did. But then came
Jimmy
Savile. Also the Beeching Axe.
Oh,
so let's talk about the Beeching Axe for a moment. British Rail was seen as being, what was it called? It was seen as being a blight on the interests of the motorway builders, because obviously, just like in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, they wanted to build freeways everywhere through Toontown, and they were like, we don't want people getting trains. We want everyone in a car. We want everyone in a big, massive traffic jam, all the way around London for the rest of time.
Yep.
And so they set up this thing called the Beeching Commission. Dr. Richard Beeching came from ICI, came from industry, and they cheated. They really cheated. They did things like they'll go to a little village railway on a Sunday, and they'll go, "Oh, no one's using this railway."
Brilliant.
They'll have people with clipboards, monitoring how many people getting on and off the train.
Not on Monday morning at 7 o'clock.
No, Sundays. No one's using the train, so we can get rid of this. And at that time, over 2,300 stations were closed. 5,000 miles, 5,000 miles of track.
Unbelievable.
Third of the whole network.
I mean, we invented the damn things.
Yeah, I know. But here's the kicker. Ernest Marples, who was the Transport Minister at the time, Secretary of State for Transport under the Tory government of the early 60s, he was the co-owner of Marples Ridgeway Construction. Can you take a guess at what they constructed, Mike?
Motorways?
Yes, they constructed motorways. The Hammersmith flyover was actually constructed by Marples Ridgeway Construction. And so, but, he didn't have a vested interest because he sold all his shares
to his son?
His wife.
Okay.
For £1.
Brilliant.
On the proviso that once he wasn't Transport Minister anymore, she'll sell them back.
I mean, fair play. Good move.
So we had this devastated rural communities, entrenched car dependency. You had new towns like Skelmersdale outside of Liverpool, which doesn't have a train anymore like it used to. And then they went, oh, no one lives here, so we don't need a train anymore. And then they made it a new town. It wasn't like Milton Keynes, but it was like they moved a lot of workers from the city centre, from the slums, from Scotty Road and stuff. They got moved out to places like Skem, Runcorn, etc. And Runcorn still got a pretty good train service. But other places, that was it. No train. I think Skem is possibly the largest area of people, a group, what's it called? Conurbation? Conurbation. That's the word. Oh, I need you on the show more so you can correct me what I'm saying.
The words.
Yeah. Without a train station. And like Marples had a clear conflict of interest. And
at the same time they're digging up the tram lines as well.
Oh yeah, they got rid of the trams as well because they were and also if you look at the town planning of the 1960s, which is something that there was a great show on BBC Three many moons ago called I Hate the 60s.
Yeah.
And it was all about how shit the 60s were, actually, if you think about it. Because everyone thinks about it like swinging 60s, whatever. But they were talking about how in the 1960s, like everything was built around the needs of the car.
Yeah. Well, listen, we're in North Lane in Brighton, which is why Graham and I are in the same physical space for once. And North Lane, which is the rambling shops of candle sellers and God knows what, beautiful place in the heart of Brighton. Come and visit in the summer.
It's lovely.
But that was saved by a group of hippies who objected to the idea of the motorway being extended right to the seafront.
Yeah.
And nowadays, luckily, we don't have multi-storey car parks all over Brighton in the middle, and no motorways blocking the view of the sea, and you've got these beautiful rambling roads. But that didn't happen everywhere.
Yeah. Well, in Liverpool, the last junction, or the first junction of the M62 is Junction 5, because 1, 2, 3 and 4 were supposed to be going all the way into the city centre.
Right.
And they were just going to destroy a bunch of Georgian townhouses. They were going to destroy like all these parks. They'd take out the botanical garden on Edge Lane. Like they were just going to take everything out and just have a massive fucking motorway. And then they were going to have like an inner city ring motorway.
Right.
And it would have been concrete everywhere. Like if you go to Leeds, if you go to Birmingham, if you go to Newcastle, there's like inner city motorways, and it's absolutely horrible. Yeah. It's horrendous. It's why, in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, he calls himself Ford Prefect.
Yeah.
And he tries to shake hands with a car.
Right.
Because he looks at the earth and he thinks, oh, well, they're obviously
cars must run the world.
They're the dominant species because everything's made in their design. In Liverpool, we had a thing called the it was like the City in the Sky thing, or the Walkway in the Sky initiative, and it was to have all the pedestrian stuff on like above the roads.
Right.
So have all the cars belching out toxic lead-lined smoke, and then you'd walk above that.
Right.
Great idea.
Yeah.
It was also subtitled "The Fuck the Disabled" scheme, because there were lots of.
Of course, how the hell do you? Yeah.
Yeah, and if you look at the mentality of people who are like petrol head, knobheads who make, town planning and stuff, they're like, the cars must not stop. I am a car Nazi, and the cars must not stop. And it's like, how can you make it so that a pedestrian has to walk an extra half mile in the rain, in the sleet, in the snow, in the baking heat, whatever the weather is, to avoid a driver who is sitting down in a nice climate-controlled weapon?
Yeah.
How can you? Why is it like? Oh no, we can make the pedestrian stop, wait for ages. We can make them walk up a whirly-curly bridge and then walk across the motorway, but the cars cannot stop.
Yeah,
the cars absolutely cannot stop. And one of the ones that drives me mad in Liverpool, there's like this sort of 14-acre site in Liverpool, which is surrounded by the runoff lane from the Kingsway Tunnel. And the cars come off the Kingsway Tunnel and they go into this massive cutting, which bends all the way around and then comes onto this road that goes towards the city centre. And you only have to go 30 miles an hour. It would be quicker to have a roundabout and just go straight onto the road.
See, just to bring I'll give you a couple of good examples of town planning. Right, one of them definitely not in this country, but I was brought up in Peterborough, which was a new town in the late 70s, early 80s, and they had learnt some lessons on this. It has a railway station right in the centre of town.
Yeah.
It has a ring road around the entire city, which allows you to access any part of the city.
Cool.
It has cycleways built into the infrastructure of the entire city.
Yeah.
And you never need to touch a road. And it has decent parking and a pedestrianised city centre, and it's still a shithole. but then the one that I love and adore, not just because my son and grandson live there, is Madrid.
Yeah.
Where my son currently rents an apartment that is by the side of a river and a park in the centre of the city, But under Franco, it was actually, the river was a sewage river, effectively,
Nice.
and either side of it was a 3-lane motorway. And what the European Union did was give them enough money to actually bury the motorway
Oh, wow.
underground, build a park on top of it,
Yeah.
and then rewild the river all the way through the city. And it's the most fucking beautiful bit of urban planning I've ever seen. Done by a right-wing council, unfortunately.
All right, but still, I mean, they got it done. They got the shit done.
Exactly.
I mean, so I'm particularly interested in this because in the 1980s when I was a kid, rail investment absolutely stagnated. There was just the government was running it down deliberately, like they did with the NHS in the last 14 years, preparing the ground for privatisation, and the public perception was of British Rail was grey sandwiches, delays,
Jimmy Savile.
but most of the trains still ran on time.
Yeah,
In fact, they had a better punctuality and service than they do now under privatisation. So then, in the 1990s, under John Major, the British Rail was broken up into over 100 private firms. The track was sold to a company called Rail Track, which was later renationalised as National Rail after safety. Should we say safety scandals, or should we say literally people fucking died?
Right. Okay.
Because the signals weren't being upkept because the shareholders needed the money. So we renationalised that in about 2003 or something. And so as a result, like Britain, the British taxpayer was subsidising the unprofitable bit of the railways, and these train companies were making a massive load of profit
Using the
tracks, and the public subsidies given to these companies outweighed the cost of having British Rail in the first place. It made no economic sense. It made no moral sense. It was not a great time, not a good time. So trains were there was limited competition on lines because often there was only really one company that could run that particular service. There's only one track most of the time that you can run your trains on, and all the trains kind of like competed against each other. And if one fucked up, and then there was a knock-on effect with another company, it ended up costing them the company. So all these decisions had to be made, and there's hundreds and thousands of trains every day moving around. And if one of them's late, another company has to pick up the slack. And the other one is like that drives me mad. Is so many times because I travel. I come from when I'm coming from Durham to Liverpool or down here.
Sure.
I have to stop in York, right, which is a major train hub. There's a beautiful railway museum there as well. If you've been a nerd, like I am, and they had, they often stop there and say, "I'm sorry, we have a bit of a delay. We're waiting on a member of the train crew to join the train." Mm. And what it is like they have to get someone who has a contract with their company. So they have to get someone who's got the LNER outfit, who's got a contract with LNER, and only they can be a conductor on the train. Only they can be a driver on their train. If you need to change drivers, they've got to wait for someone who's contracted to their company.
It's the bloody unions, isn't it?
No, well, I mean, they couldn't use someone who's a GWR driver.
Sure, yeah.
And there's a few reasons for this. First of all, it might not be the same
train.
The controls will be different.
Engine. Yeah, the train is the carriages with the engine.
You're right.
The engine
controls will be different, but also that the track you've got to have experience of going down particular tracks before you're allowed to go on them. So one time there was a tree that came down near Durham, and so the train stopped in York. They waited till they got a driver who had driven up the Durham coastline on the train, and they redirected along the Durham coast. It was a beautiful, beautiful journey. You don't normally get to see this.
Yeah, the coastal train lines are beautiful.
They took us up to Sunderland and we were like on the metro rail.
Right.
But it's all the same gauge. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
They just worked it out with the local stuff. Big shout out to Chris C in the chat. I would love for our buses to be on the council control since the new company has taken over. It's been crap. I'm assuming you're going to say that. When Graham should do the Thomas the Tank When Graham should do the Thomas the Tank voiceover. Thank you very much to Martin Harrow. And thank you, Martin, by the way. Thank you. You're very, very kind. We've got Richard Grumpy Git there saying, I used to get very travel sick, especially on trains, but I'm okay now. Just try not to read. I think when you're reading,
face the way the train's going as well.
And if you're someone who just loves to fucking razz up to the lights and then slam the brakes on, I kind of want to vomit in their car just to teach them a lesson. Like, can you stop driving like a twat? Because people are taught somehow, I don't know who tells them this, but they're like, the way that you know a really good driver is someone who drives like a maniac and then just doesn't hit the other cars. So you got to like, you know, razz up and then you got to brake at the last possible second and you got to be an inch behind that car.
Yeah,
you got to be an inch behind that, and that shows what a good driver is. No, what a good driver is someone who makes their passengers feel safe. Passengers feel like they're fucking floating on earth.
And other road users as well, and pedestrians.
Yeah.
You know.
When your little stepdaughter says to you, I love it when you drive, Graham, it's like flying. I'm like, oh. And do you know what I'm inspired by?
As you're going off a cliff.
Do you ever see the movie Drive with Ryan Gosling?
Yeah.
I'm so inspired because I love the car chase in that because it's so smooth.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you just brought into this. He's just the coolest guy in the world.
Is that what's going on in your head when you're driving your stepdaughter around?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I'm thinking of Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
Mostly. You should be Transport Secretary, Graham, says Samusu. 86, finally an MP who actually has experience in the field of what their job is. Well, I mean, I'm just as a punter, I'm not someone who knows how it works behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But
who is Transport Secretary at the moment? Do we know?
I want to say Bridget Phillipson, but that's the education.
I don't know who's in charge of
Transport. I don't know. Oh, that's really bad, isn't it? I should have made a note about
that. Look that up.
Yeah. We have the most expensive rail fares in Europe. We have massive subsidies for private profit, over £100 billion of your money, your taxpayer money. Oh, it's Heidi Alexander. Is the Secretary of State for Transportation. And there's no coordination between the services, as I've experienced getting down here, where they couldn't just keep the other train on the platform for a couple of minutes to let everyone get off the other train, which would have happened if it was all under one umbrella. There's no incentive to reinvest profits in infrastructure because the infrastructure is different. It's rail track, and then you've got the repeated failure of these franchises, the East Coast Main Line, LNER, that was Virgin, then it was Avanti, and then they just kind of gave up.
Yeah.
And it went back into national hands because no one wanted to run it.
And took all the subsidies.
They took all the subsidies, absolutely. Oh, sorry. And, you know, delays, cancellations, overcrowding, people paying 150 quid for a ticket.
Yeah.
And then having to stand the whole way. And like, you know, look at Deutsche Bahn in Germany, and if you're ever traveling around Europe, honestly, the Deutsche Bahn site is it's Bahn BAHN.de is absolutely fucking brilliant for you just put in one place and another place anywhere in Europe, and it'll work out what trains to get and what times they are, and it'll give you different.
I mean,
selections.
every time I've used trains in Europe, they're just incredible. They're double-decker trains because their bridges are the right size. Yeah. You can travel across countries for tens of euros, basically.
SNCF, nationalised high-speed innovation over in France. But also you got our REF, which is the local trains, which cost like loads less because it's slow. And I don't mind that. In fact, I'm going back to Liverpool today, and I'm getting the London Midland train or something, and it's only like 20 quid.
Yeah.
It's only 20 quid, which is what I think it should be for a Sunday service that takes 4.5 hours. I don't care that it takes longer. I just don't want to be paying 70, 80 pounds for a journey.
Yeah.
That if I got in the car, and even if it was a petrol car, and I hired the car and there were 5 of us in the car, it would be cheaper.
I mean, that's the point, that the car, you know, they almost equate in price if you take everything into account about cars, if it's just you travelling.
Yeah.
But as soon as you put 2 people in the car, 3 people in the
family.
car, the train fares become impossible to pay. You can spend £1,000 getting to somewhere like Bradford. Yeah. And you end up in Bradford.
I know. Why would you want to go to Bradford? No offence, joking. It's a lovely place. Also, I'm told. In Japan, it's a semi-private system, but they're massively state-directed.
Yeah.
There's a lot of control. And in Italy, there's a mix of public and private, but it's subsidised heavily by the government with clear regulation. But also, Deutsche Bahn and SNCF, they invest in our public transport. So they have shares in stuff like Aviva buses and stuff like that. And it means that when we pay over the odds for public transport, we're actually subsidising the cheaper public transport in Germany or the Netherlands or France. It's like we already have nationalised services in this country. It's just... it's the wrong nation that's running the tracks, running the show. So with renationalisation, Southwestern Railways today is the first to return to public ownership. There'll be two more. C2C, Greater Anglia, by the end of the year.
Yep.
And by 2027, there's 7 more major operators to follow. And Great British Railways is going to unify the track and the trains again, and which is going to be great. And the GBR livery apparently is already in use, Great British Railways. However, they haven't set up the company yet.
No.
That's going to happen later in the year.
Apparently today in Woking there is a sign on the platform saying "Coming soon, GBR Railways."
Heidi Alexander, that's her name.
Yeah.
It is on our notes. Saying that it's a cultural reset. It's not a silver bullet. It's not going to make everything amazing instantly. Fares are not going to immediately drop, but reinvestment is going to be prioritised. And unions are still warning about private contracts for cleaning, security, etc., which I agree that should be brought into nationalisation. One of the big mistakes we made in this country during Blair's reign of error was no, come on, he did some good stuff, to be fair, but the public-private ownership of hospitals, really bad idea, because they had the services for the hospitals privatised. And so what these companies did, they said, right, we're going to run the cleaning, the maintenance of the hospital for the next 20, 30 years. And then once the hospital was built, they started putting the prices up and up of how much it costs. So instead of changing a light bulb costing 50p, it suddenly cost a fiver or 50 quid. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And they're like, oh yeah, well, we had to do this maintenance, we had to do it. And they've got the only contract, no one bids for it, so no one can undercut them. Yeah. And they kind of just, it's a blank check, isn't it?
And they're all run by Accenture or Centrica.
Yeah, not for the patients, but for the shareholders.
For the profits.
For the shareholders. Won't somebody think of the shareholders? Conservatives are already attacking this, which is bullshit, because a lot of train companies came under nationalised services under the Tories. But, public service is a utility. It's not a luxury. It's public transport, not private transport.
It's essentially, and we were talking about this last night, that when you look at London, when you look at the environment that MPs actually work and live in, 5 days of the week at least, or 4 days of the week, they're in a completely integrated public service network where the buses and the tubes and the trains all back each other up. You can even get a cable car on public service across the river.
So jealous of London.
Yeah, and it's perfect. And they sit there going, well, there's nothing wrong with public transport. And you go, no, not in London there isn't. But everywhere else, it's shit, basically.
Yeah. I agree, and privatisation of lots of things. Whenever you have a system where there's going to be a part of it that's never going to make money, to make that, if it's a nationalised company, to make that a privatised company, I think is absolute madness. Because the first thing they're going to do is strip out the bit that's not making money.
Yeah.
But that's the bit that's servicing the
public
rural areas. Yeah. If you think of the mail, being able to just get a first class stamp for 19p and put it in and know that it'll get to the Orkney Islands, even though it costs a fiver to get it to the Orkney Islands because they got to put it on a boat and whatever. No private company's going to take that on, and that's why private first class stamps are now £2 now. Yeah. And they're going to, for rural areas, instead of being a daily post, it's going to wind down. It's going to be like a weekly thing, and then they're going to merge it with Amazon or something like that. It's just a fucking nightmare.
There are bits of infrastructure that just should almost be a human right.
Yes.
And
water.
Yeah.
Electricity.
Porn.
Porn is free. We've got the internet.
Nationalise the porn industry.
Nationalise the porn.
That's just perfect.
You look very dead small compared to me. Should we do a Dutch tilt on here?
Tiny.
Why are you so tiny? I thought this was a fake wall, but it's a real wall.
It is brick.
It's brick. It's not even wallpaper, like brick wallpaper.
It's not. No, it's real brick.
It's real brick.
It's entirely why I rented
really cool.
the place.
Leipzig says the main reason we have such shit services is because of greedy shareholders. They want 100% profit and no investment. That's absolutely true.
Yep.
Kate Smith says, I'm sure riding to school is more fun than a car. Well, our girls can't cycle to school because it would be so fucking dangerous for them to do so.
Yeah.
Got narrow little country roads with blind corners and hills that you can't see over, and it's 60 miles an hour.
Yeah.
That's something we need to address, but maybe that's a conversation for another day. And then we've got Elle saying it was her that started the trans war, her and the former PM, whose name I swore I'll never say without spitting. And then who would want brick wallpaper? Says Joanna. Who would want it? I've seen it. I've seen brick wallpaper in pubs. They do it in like bars.
True. No, definitely.
Trendy bars.
When I walked into this place and saw that wall, I just went, I need to have that.
So
that's a YouTube background.
Okay, so I many moons ago, I was a guest on CBS This Morning with Charlie Rose and Gayle King, and I was flown over to the States. They wouldn't put me up on a hotel though. I had to sleep on my mate's floor, but whatever. Anyway, I did get picked up at the airport by someone holding a sign with my name. That's never happened before. I was dead excited. Except they spelt my name wrong, but I don't care. Anyway, I'm not bitter. But it was interesting because it was in an old warehouse, right? It was this studio, right? That was in they'd taken over an old warehouse in New York and made it in the studio headquarters. But the studio didn't look warehousey enough. So they had like a fake brick wall in front of like the real brick wall because they wanted it to look a certain way. It reminded me of The Simpsons where they're making the film in Springfield and he's like, oh yeah, horses don't look like horses, so we have to paint the cows to look like horses on film. So yeah, I'm gonna just jump into the chat here. What should we set a goal?
Yeah, let's try and get your train fare home.
Let's get my train fare home. So we'll just do 5. I'm not gonna. Don't make me beg. We got 15 minutes because we're gonna have to wrap up at 10:45.
Because you got to get a train.
I've got to get a train, but also we've got to shunt you over to our friend Alex, Political X's. We saw his sexy man bun walk past, didn't we?
We watched him walk past.
He literally walked past us, and then he texted me going, "Where are you?" And I went, "You just
behind you."
I just went, you just walked past us, you mad bastard. But yeah, and then we thought we'd meet up with him, and he rang Tan. And he was like, "Oh, I'm leaving."
Yeah.
And we're like, "What the? We thought you were here all day." He just turned up, didn't he, for lunch, bastard? What should we do to celebrate?
I'm bereft of ideas. You've worn me out this weekend.
I put nudity, but it won't let me put it. Look, an error occurred. Oh, mate, it won't let us.
Well, you've got to do the Ivor the Engine voiceover.
Say thank you. I'm too young for Ivor the Engine.
Thomas,
I can do Thomas. Thomas said to the fat controller, "I'm like to smoke a fat one." Thomas said to the fat controller, "This is what we call a Camberwell cavit."
You could do that.
I think didn't Ringo just do like the first season?
He did a few.
Did he? And then someone else just does an impression.
There was another Liverpudlian.
Yeah, who sounds exactly. Because they're talking old Scouse.
It's a job share scheme.
Because Scouse these days has gone dead nasal, and so Scousers sound like this these days. You know, they always sound like, "Oh my God, what's going on?" Whereas in the past, they were more sort of deep back of the throat. You know, kind of like just it sounds a bit more brummy.
You're giving
actually.
This away. We need some super chats.
What?
Yeah.
What?
We need super chats for him to do the voiceover.
Oh, Richie Grumpy Git says, "Isn't Sunday Roast taking a rest?" Is it? I don't know. I didn't check because I haven't set up the redirect. Should we redirect them somewhere else? What do you reckon, Mike? Where should we redirect them?
Send them to... What's Phil doing this morning?
Oh, Kate Montgomery's got something up. Sunday Roast with Marina Perkis. There you go. Marina's got to be on it. Marina.
Wasn't that last week, though?
What? No, it wasn't. It was Gemma last week.
It was Gemma last week. Yeah, okay.
Get your troll people.
No, I'm lost.
Fucking sorted out. So... Lovely Marina. We need to get her on the show, don't we?
That would be good.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll get Marina on the show at some point. Not Graham Price. He gargles his scouse. What? Graham is a nice scouser. We like Graham. And then we've got Sunday Roast is on at 9:45. Yeah, we're going to shunt you over there. So you can just keep watching this channel. And we will take you over magically to the Sunday Roast, and you can get a little bit roasted. Your mouse is very clicky. I bought a silent mouse for my place.
You do YouTube. I do cartoons.
People don't know. People don't know that I'm clicking. Because you know when you listen to James O'Brien, you can hear him on. You know when people are rambling on, you can hear him on his keyboard, Googling stuff. But one thing I was thinking about James O'Brien, right? Why doesn't he have his own console? You know when he's like queuing things up for like Woke Watch or whatever, and he does this to someone else to do it. He should have like a little button display, and when he needs to do it, he presses the button.
Dangerous to give the presenter that much control.
That's what they used to do.
Look what happens with you.
I know. God damn it. I've just checked. It's on, says Richard Grumpy Kid. What's on? What's on? Are we going to have a fight? It's on. It's on like Donkey Kong. So yeah, you don't privatise the fire brigade, do you? You don't privatise the NHS unless you're mad.
No.
It's trying to. And with nationalised rail, you have long-term planning. You can plan 10, 15, 20, 50 years into the future.
And invest in lines, build new towns. I mean, Labour are talking about building new towns.
Yeah. Sarah Davis, thank you so much for the super chat, Sarah, who says, Graham, have a super chat. Thanks for the autographs. Do you want to show Sarah the autographs that we've done?
Let me grab that.
We've done something really special for you, Sarah, so we'll go and grab this a minute. I'm going to post it to you. Everyone's going to ask for one of these now.
Well, for a small fee.
But there you go. Look, there's me and Tan and Mike, and it's all signed. So there you go. We're going to be sending that to you. It's going to be what's it called? Whisking itself off to Wales. Whisking off to Wales. Good alliteration there. So that's for you, Sarah. It's just for you. No one else can have one. It's exclusive. You can sell it on eBay for lots of money. Alistair, thank you so much for the £10 super chat, mate. That's really kind of you. And Alistair says, fun to the journey home. That's nice, isn't it?
You're going to need it.
That's lovely, isn't it? That is awesome. Thank you, says Sarah. No, thank you for supporting the channel, Sarah. Thank you so much for being so kind and generous and letting us off when we fuck up.
And Tan was not happy about a single photo we took this weekend. She wanted editorial approval on everything.
She had a hangover.
She did have a bit of anxiety.
Bit of anxiety. Sam Russo says you'll be doing birthdays next.
Yeah.
What about the cake?
Well, you just need to go over to the OnlyFans channel, don't you? Basically.
Yeah. No, I did that for my mate Cliff over in Canada. I was invited over by his husband, and I jumped out the cake for his birthday.
That's what we
just like Eleanor, Erica. What's her name?
Erica Rowe.
No, Erica. I want to say Eleniak. That wasn't her name. What's her name? She was in Baywatch, and she was in Under Siege. She's the one who jumps out the cake in Under Siege.
Once again, all of your cultural references are lost.
Mate, come on.
I don't. Baywatch. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, such a centralist granddad. Baywatch was great.
Was it?
Yeah, it wasn't just like.
Was it just watching a bay? Was that it?
No, it was watching the babes, running and
Pamela
slow
Anderson.
motion, slow motion, and the bouncing.
Right.
But also now and again, if you were lucky, you got to watch an American Drown. Sorry, that was a joke. That's a Jack D joke. I was just repeating what someone else said. Don't hate me. Don't at me. Happily, most of the Americans that we know are going to be asleep at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
hi,
sorry,
Mikey. Richie Quambigett, did Tan launch any Tories off Brighton Pier? Imagine we had like a trebuchet at the end of the... We put the Tories, you eat them into the sea.
How far can you throw a Tory?
A world record.
There are no Tories in Brighton. We don't let them here.
Erica Eleniak. Thank you, Joanna. Someone's on the ball this morning.
Joanna's obviously a young person.
It's not us.
Joanna.
It's not us. So yes, back to the trains momentarily. We got greener transport options basically, which is something that the fuckers want to stop, don't they? They want any kind of like investment into green stuff stopped. But I am shocked by one thing here in Brighton. Do you know what the shocking thing is? That I think will shock a lot of people watching this.
Is it that we have quite a large gay community?
No, that's delightful, not shocking. No,
okay.
No. You don't have any recycling. You don't have a recycling bin. What the Fouquet?
Do not get me started. We don't have enough time.
Liverpool does.
We had a green council for 8 years.
A green council for 8 years, and they didn't bring in curbside recycling.
We had the most famous green MP for 8
Caroline
years.
Lucas.
And
lovely.
We still have a green MP. And
yes.
It's not that we don't have any recycling, it's just we have terrible recycling.
Yeah, but you've got to go somewhere with the recycling. We have a bin.
I mean, certainly everywhere in the lanes you have to take your bin bags to the bins somewhere on another street, and it's nearly a mile away from me to take recycling.
We've got 3 bins. And by the end of the year, we're going to have 4 bins. There are 4 bins!
And the contract the Greens, supported by the Tories, signed on Brighton Council 5-6 years ago, the recycling doesn't have to be done properly. Like there's a clause in the contract that allows the recycling company not to do any recycling.
Shit.
So, and I know the current Labour council are desperately trying to
change
the terms of this contract.
Yeah.
But that's obviously going to cost them more money, and we don't have any money.
Yeah, exactly. Kate Smith there, thank you very much for the super chat. It's very kind of you, Kate. And we have reached the goal, so we're going to say thank you.
Thank you very much.
Farage claims new idea, fuel payment to child cap. Yeah, I mean, they've just done their research. I mean, they're not geniuses.
They're preempting what's likely to be a Labour change anyway, basically, and then they can claim credit for it.
Absolute motherfuckers. Okay, and then we've got Chris C here, £2 super chat, thank you. Did Tan launch any reform MPs into the sea? God, that would be a great way to see the end of Nigel Farage, wouldn't it?
It would. He used to be my MEP.
If only Scylla was still around, she could be like, surprise, surprise, and like pull the fucking thing and
3 levers. Do you launch a
loose
reform? Perfect.
And you see like disappearing over the horizon.
It would be a popular ride.
And that's what we do to the bad people. Paula, thank you very much to the £5 super chat. Paula says, should re-establish the engineering division of British Rail as well. Yeah,
because we buy most of our rolling stock from Europe nowadays.
We do. Siemens based in Germany. We get a lot of stuff from there. But like privatisation failed spectacularly, as it often does. I will argue that with telecoms, it's not as bad as it could be. But the fact that OpenReach do all the cables, and then companies have to rent the cables.
It's the same gig.
It's so daft. Yeah. Anything where you've got one thing, mobile's different, but for home telephones. But the Tories did the same thing with home telephones that they did with the rail. They made it shit. Do you remember you had to rent your phone? Remember you couldn't own a phone? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
No, you had to rent the phone.
Yeah.
You see, like, these big bastard phones. They were great for clocking someone over the head with, but they were like, it was like the weight of a brick, and it had the old dial thing on.
3 colour choices.
And you could never own it. It was like, and if you bought a beep 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 phone from some Japanese importer, you weren't allowed to. Well, you weren't supposed to plug it into the system. It would actually have a sticker on the bottom with a red triangle.
That is part of the. That's one of the things we need to avoid with renationalisation is that monopoly status of bureaucrats.
Yes.
Where they were just saying you can have 3 phones, there's a cream one, a black one and a red one, and if you're really posh you can have a trim phone. And that was it. And I think one of the things about nationalised industries that we definitely need to change in the future is making sure that there is still competitive choice in some way.
Yeah.
To encourage things to get better and better, basically, but without the profits disappearing off.
But this thing, like, renationalisation isn't a radical idea. It's not like it's...
No. I mean, again, it works in Europe.
It's not communism. It's common sense.
Yeah.
And if we want a country that works for everyone, we need a railway system, a public transport system that does. We can't have social mobility. It's very hard to have social mobility in a country where there's no physical mobility, where people are trapped in their own home. Yeah. You've got millions of people in this country who are basically under house arrest on a Sunday because they don't have a car. The mobility problems, maybe, and there's no bus.
Yeah.
They just don't have buses because the buses are being run at a profit. And they're like, well, it's not profitable to run it on a Sunday.
Yeah.
So everyone has to stay at home.
I mean, the other thing in Brighton I know is that the local council are now in talks with Andy Burnham to work out how we can take into public ownership the bus company. We have a good bus service here, actually, run by Arriva, but that is a European company, as you say.
Yeah.
But we are trying to work with Andy Burnham to figure out how we can bring the buses back into public ownership.
Yeah. I love a bit about Andy Burnham. I voted for him, by the way, back in 2015.
He's a good bloke. He came down here and let me take a picture of him doing
to be leader of Labour.
To have the Mayor of Trumpton under his arm, basically. So.
You know loads of cool people. You know Stephen Moffat. You know the writer of Press Gang.
And other things, basically.
And Doctor Who.
Yeah.
He was a Doctor Who showrunner when Amy Pond was the assistant.
This is true.
Played by the delectable Karen Gillan. I always worried about aliens coming and putting us all in the big zoo. Because I thought, I'm going to be stuck in a cage with Mick Hucknall for the rest of the time. Because they put all the gingers
in the ginger section.
In the ginger section.
Yeah.
But now I'm thinking, Karen Gillan will be there as well.
Yeah.
Very nice.
But you'd have to fight Mick Hucknall.
I would have to fight Nick
And
Cutler.
Tan told us something about... No, let's not go there.
I heard something about Mike Cutler when I was a kid that which I've recently found out isn't true. I can't say what it is because obviously it might be slander, but it was to do with a part of his anatomy and the size of it effectively.
Make up the rest.
It's
fine.
Apparently it's not true. For someone with first-hand experience. Oh my God, I'm going into this too much. Right, Liverpool are moving to copy Manchester's bus policy. Yeah, Martin, they absolutely are under Steve Rotherham. So we've got a Scouser one in Liverpool, and we've got a Scouser one in Manchester, as it should be. Manchester is one of my favourite cities in the world. It's got this beautiful town hall designed by a Scouser, Alfred Woodhouse? Yeah, Alfred Woodhouse, who was born in Egbert in Liverpool. And they've got a lovely statue outside of Gladstone, you know, the Prime Minister.
Yeah, where was he from?
He was from Liverpool. I love the sort of homage to the Scousers that they have there. It's
Do you know I found out recently the Beatles, they were from somewhere near Liverpool.
Somewhere near Liverpool.
I don't know.
And the Boo Radleys. And the Echo and the Bunnymen.
Okay.
And Cast. Maybe we don't mention Cast.
You're so tribal.
Okay, right. We're going to shrink you over to the other channel now because they've just started. So thanks, Mike,
for
coming on the show.
Lovely to see you.
Really appreciate it. And I appreciate you all watching this. Thank you very much for the super chat. I will return tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, bright and early, for Morning Brew on Politics Social. Until then, I'll say thank you so much for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye. Thanks very much for the super chat there, Yuri. Kirk versus the gun. That's very good. I like it.